Hello everyone and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. This is Colin and today we're going to do a top 10 video. We're going to do the top 10 card games that I like to play solo. Now you guys might see I have a new shirt on today. This I just recently got is the new green version of the Solo Guild shirt. I hope some of you guys got yours. Looks awesome. I really like it. I love wearing it. I actually got two of them because I like them so much. But yeah, so this is going to be specifically for card games. Most of them are just going to be cards only. I do have one that includes a board, and you'll see why I like that one so much. Without further ado, let's get going. Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game designed by Brady and Adam Sadler and published by Fantasy Flight Games, is a 1 to 4 player cooperative game of heroic dungeon adventures. In a solo game, you will choose between 2 and 4 heroes to go dungeon delving in either the campaign mode or in a one-off scenario. As you play the game, you will try and progress through locations while fending off lesser enemies such as giant rats, bats, and even goblins. Every now and again, you will encounter a nemesis that will jump into the fray, wreaking havoc to whomever they wish. Each round, you will choose one of 4 basic actions to try and complete your objectives. If you can progress through the locations and defeat the necessary enemies while searching for treasure, you can win the game. Now, why I like this game solo is first and foremost, the game is very easy to set up and to take down. There's not a ton of components, so it's easy to get to the game, which I absolutely love for a solo game. There is a single campaign, plus there's multiple fan-made campaigns which you can play through. I honestly enjoy myself personally the one-off delve scenario where you actually level up during your single session, but that game does end up being a little bit longer. So if you're playing shorter, if you want shorter play times, look at the campaign. If you're okay with the longer play time but just playing one time and you're done, I would definitely check out those delve scenarios. I feel like the game provides you with lots of options, but not too many, because you only have the 4 actions you can choose from to activate each round, and every time you activate one of those actions, it becomes exhausted, and you can't do that action again until you pick a specific action that refreshes all your other actions. And for each character, that action is different, which also provides you with a little bit more replayability because you can mix and match all the different types of heroes. It's really fun to see which heroes work well together and which ones don't as much. So that's one of the things I really enjoy. I do also feel like since you are going to have to play with at least 2 characters, only having 4 actions for each character makes it feel like you're less overwhelmed when playing solo. The difficulty level is also where I want it to be for solo, and that is that it leans more towards the hard side, but it's not impossible, so it doesn't feel insanely difficult, but it doesn't feel really easy. It's kind of at that perfect amount of difficulty, which I love. And finally, of course, the quality of components. With Fantasy Flight Games, you're not going to be disappointed. The cards are nice quality, the tokens are nice quality. Yeah, you can feel the quality of the game as you play it. I do have a 2-player playthrough of this one on the channel if you're interested. Make sure to check it out. Now, I will say this is not for you if you're looking for more official content, because the game is dead. You will no longer see any expansions for the game, but there's a ton of fan-made expansions, and you'll find all of those on the Board Game Geek website. Also, you're not going to be able to play this game with 1 character, so if you want to play a game with only 1 character, you're going to have to look elsewhere. And finally, if you're looking for a true RPG experience, this is not an RPG. You're simply going to be dungeon delving with some small upgrades, like upgraded equipment, upgraded actions. So this isn't really an RPG experience. If that's what you're looking for, this isn't the game for you. Fantasy Defense, designed by Evan Song and Yoshiyuki Arai, and published by Mandu Games, is a 1 to 2 player cooperative castle defense game where players deploy units to defeat the orcs besieging the 7 gates of the city. In a solo game, you will choose one of the 2 available races, either elf or human, and my hope is that expansions will come out which will give you more races, because that's one of the things that I feel like the game is lacking in, and begin the game by drawing and placing 3 orcs at the edge of your city walls. Over subsequent turns, you will deploy your units that will battle these orcs, causing casualties on both sides. If you're able to defeat all the orcs besieging the city, you win the game. If the city's morale is ever reduced to 0, you lose the game. So why is this game so good solo? Well, first of all, it's the speed of the game. The gameplay is quick, setup and takedown is quick, everything is quick. It's great if you got 20 minutes, you can just pull it out, play it, put it away, and you're ready to do something else. Also, a lot of times when I play solo, I don't have a ton of space. Like I'm in a hotel right now recording. And so when that happens, being able to play this game on a small table at the hotel is something I really appreciate. I do also feel like the game provides you with a right amount of a challenge. It can be a little bit variable just depending on how the orcs come out, but I do feel like the game gives you a good enough challenge that you'll want to come back to it. I will say that if you want this game to have legs, meaning that you are going to continually play it multiple times, check out the expansion, The Stone King. It becomes a story with chapters, you add different cards in, it's awesome. That is really where the game shines, is the Stone King expansion. I also feel like this game is somewhat unique. If you think about it, most tower defense games are large miniature games that take up a lot of space and a lot of time. This game fills that great niche for me that it's small enough to fit in my backpack, but it's still a good challenge to win and defend the city. Currently, I do not have a playthrough of this one, but I do plan to do one soon. Now, I will say this game is not for you if you do not like math. Most of this game you're going to be counting up to 40 and down all the time, trying to count up your points to see if your points of units are higher than the points of the enemies. And there'll be a lot of things that can adjust that number, so you're going to be counting a lot of different times and a lot of different items. So if you're not into counting and doing a little bit of math, this might not be for you. If you like to binge play your solo games, this game is also not for you. I would say this game is usually a 1 to 2 times play for me, and then I take a little break from it and I come back to it. It's great for traveling, but with only 2 races and only 1 boss, there's just not enough in the box if you're looking to play this over and over again. Legendary Encounters, an alien deck building game designed by Ben Kishosky and Daniel Nadel, published by Upper Deck Entertainment, is a 1 to 5 player cooperative deck building game based off of the 4 movie series of Alien. In a solo game, you will choose 2 characters and progress through the movies in whatever order you choose. You'll choose between recruiting cards into your deck and scanning and attacking enemies that are added to the board. If you're able to complete the mission objectives before all the players die, you have won the game. So why is this game good solo? Well, first of all, the thematic. If you're all into the movies, which actually, to be honest, I'm not, but if you are, you will eat them up. Okay, this game is fantastic. Cards make thematic sense. The enemies, what they do, you're gonna go, oh, it's just like the movies. The different scenarios you can play, follow along with the movies themselves. It's pretty cool. The other thing I appreciate when playing this solo is that the game is much more fast-paced. When I play this co-op, it seems to go much longer. You're going to be playing all the characters, you can whip through your turns quickly. You just got to make sure that any card that has the coordinate action, you do that, okay? It's easy to forget that when you're only playing you're playing both hands and you're forgetting to look at both hands, making sure that there's any coordinate cards. But otherwise, I really like how the pacing is for a solo game. Unlike the Marvel series here, you actually get to be a specific character, and I do like how this one, those characters have a special ability and even get a special card into your deck. I find that provides replayability when playing solo because I can try different combos of characters, even doing the same mission. And finally, I really do appreciate that they have a hard mode. So unlike a lot of these games, you play it a couple times after you win it, it's like, well, what are you going to do now? Well, now I can put it onto hard mode and I can try and beat it, and it's going to be hard and I'm going to lose a lot, but then that's going to make me want to play it again to try and beat it. I do have a solo playthrough of this one on the channel if you're interested. Check it out. Now, this is not for you if you are looking for a unique deck building experience. This is your basic Ascension type deck builder with minimal ways to optimize your deck. You're just going to keep buying cards, keep plugging it into your deck, and your deck's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. If you're in the market for a really good deck builder only, just looking about the deck building itself, not as much about the theme, I've got some better ones up on the list. Also, the theme and the art can be a bit off-putting if it's not your thing. There is quite a bit of gore on some of the cards, and that can be a turn-off. And lastly, a lot of the enjoyment of the game for me is the surprise of what's going to come out of that deck of enemy cards, right? You don't know what's going to show up, and you lose that after your first play. So if you're looking for something that's always going to give you that surprise, might not be it. Shadowrift, designed by Jeremy Anderson and published by Game Salute, is a 1 to 6 player cooperative deck building game where players will need to band together to drive the horde of enemies that are coming from beyond the Shadow Rift. In a solo game, you will play as either a single hero or as two heroes that will purchase cards with prowess, earn heroism by defeating enemies, and learn how to use magic to fight off the enemy hordes. Each hero starts with the identical 10 cards in their deck, but as you progress through the game, you will choose different cards to power up your deck, while the monsters will place wounds and burns into your deck to slow you down. You win the game either by building all 8 walls and placing them into your town, or by sealing the shadow rifts that lurk within the monster deck. If, during the game, your town is only full of corpses, you lose the game. One of the main reasons I love this game, it has to do with the village mechanic. Trying to decide if you are going to spend your prowess or your coin to buy traveling villagers to put into your village deck, or trying to decide, okay, do I want to upgrade my deck itself? Oh, I love how that works. And then each of those specific villagers give you benefits, but they only happen if you can use them and they don't get killed by the monsters. Also, the win-loss in this game is based on the village itself, not the players, so keep that village clear of corpses if you can. There also is a 1-player variant, so it came out in the 2nd edition rulebook, and you can play with one deck. I'll say that I still normally play with 2 hands, but you definitely can play with one, and I appreciate that the designer recognized this and made that variant. In most deck builders, including legendary encounters that I just talked about, you have 1 or 2 types of resources. In this game, though, you have 4 different resources. You have prowess to buy regular cards for your deck, you have coins to buy special cards for your deck, as well as maybe trying to convince traveling villagers to come into the village. You've got magic, which you can use to activate abilities on your card, and you have attacks that you can use to fight the enemies. This gives you almost a resource management feel for a deck builder. I love it. I also find that the replayability in this game is really high, just due to all the different types of monsters and all the different types of cards that you can purchase, and you're going to be setting up 8 or 10 different piles of cards that you can buy. I like how that can change every time that you play and provide you with a different experience. I do also have a playthrough of this one on the channel if you're interested. Check it out. I will say this game is not for you if you don't like shuffling, because you're going to be shuffling all the time. There's lots of it, so many different decks to be shuffling, and when you're playing solo, you don't get to share the load like you do with co-op. The art in the game is okay at best, but some of the basic art on the cards is really boring, and sometimes it's hard to get into the theme of the game because of that. And finally, how monsters get stronger is a bit convoluted and contrite. It is fine as a solo game, but once you start playing with more players, the monsters get weaker due to the power mechanic, and that is why I feel like 2-handed is the perfect amount. Arkham Horror, the card game, designed by Nate French and Matthew Newman, published by Fantasy Flight Games, is a 1 to 2 player, or 1 to 4 player if you do have 2 core sets, cooperative adventure horror game set in the world of Cthulhu. In a solo game, you will choose between 1 and 2 investigators to delve into the mysteries of this world, finding clues, fighting enemies, and completing your agendas. Many scenarios are linked to form small campaigns that tell a story over multiple sessions. Your investigators will get stronger as they explore the depths of this world, but they also may begin to go a little bit mad. You can build your own custom deck for your investigator, or simply use one of the pre-constructed decks provided by Fantasy Flight. If you're able to solve the specific scenario within the time allotted, you have won the game. However, if all investigators have either gone mad or have been killed due to physical damage, you've lost the scenario. One of the big reasons I like this game solo is I love the story. Even though I'm not a fan at all of the theme, the story has me going and I want to keep playing just for that. I mean, I know I love mysteries, but this game does a great job of convincing you to keep going, even if the story is not something that you normally like. Also, I do appreciate that you can play this game with 1 character. I will confess and say I almost always play with 2 because I like that flexibility, but you can play with 1, which is really nice for solo. I will say that at least 30 or 40% of this game is deck building, and that means that you need to go and determine which cards you want to put into your deck for your specific inspector. As a solo player, you can spend hours building a perfect deck for a scenario that you're playing, and you do not need to coordinate with others like you do when playing co-op. So it is nice when playing solo, you can just dig down and make the deck that you want. I also feel like the design of the game is just phenomenal. It takes very simple mechanics, such as just moving from location to location, picking up tokens and using them to complete objectives, and adds a story to it. Already, with the expansions that I've played, I've seen some truly fantastic ideas on how to manipulate this simple design, and it's totally awesome how they do it. I do not have a playthrough of this one yet, but I will soon. But also, Gray Board Gamers does one, and he has a playthrough. I'd highly recommend it. Check it out. I will say this is not for you if you can't get over the theme. I mean, I was able to get over it, but I think a lot of people won't be able to. And so if you're really not into the Cthulhu theme and you really think that's a turnoff, don't even try. Also, if you don't like Fantasy Flight's model, this is a living card game, which means you'll be spending a lot of money on small packs of cards to get one scenario. I'm okay with it because I like the game enough, but if you're not sure about it, make sure to try the core, make sure to ask people about the game before deciding to spend all that money. And finally, although you can play a scenario with different characters, the majority of the fun will come with that first play of the game as you experience the scenario the first time, so replayability might suffer a bit, but with new content that keeps coming out, I mean, your wallet's gonna be in pain, but you're gonna keep enjoying the game. Shadowrun, Crossfire, and Dragonfire, designed by Michael Elliott and Ron Watkins and published by Catalyst Games, are a 1 to 4 player and 1 to 6 player cooperative deck building games respectively. Shadowrun Crossfire is set in a cyberpunk fantasy universe where there are flesh-eating ghouls, mages that summon spirits from toxic wastes, and even backstabbing corporate raiders. Dragonfire is set in the world of D&D, where players assume the quintessential roles of cleric, rogue, fighter, and wizard. In both games, there are either obstacles or enemies to defeat, and cards to be purchased through experience points or karma. In a solo game, you can choose between 2 to 4 heroes or characters and try and delve your way through the dungeons of the Forgotten Lands or through the streets of downtown. As you complete missions, you'll earn that karma or experience points that you can use to upgrade your character. Once you've leveled up enough, you can take on harder missions and stronger enemies. Do you have what it takes to slay the dragons from Shadowrun or defeat the big monsters from Dragonfire? Why I like both these games solo is because it is one of the first deck builders that handles a much more tactical play approach, meaning you focus on buying cards you can use right away, because you purchase them and they go to your hand instead of the discard pile. This can mean that you may buy cards that don't fit into your deck, but just simply get the job done. But I do find it provides you with a different deck building experience than your normal deck builder. Since you do have to play with 2 hands, it is great that there are tons of ways to cooperate with each other. You can fight each other's monsters or obstacles, and there's even cards that allow you to assist and provide assisting abilities. And no matter how many times I play this game, I still feel like the game does a great job of providing me with a challenge. Sometimes it may be unwinnable, but most of the time I can see where I made a suboptimal decision or move and it cost me the game. You need to stay focused, otherwise the game will run all over you. I also feel like the speed of this game is faster than your normal deck builder, and for me that's perfect for a solo game. There are no cards that let you draw more from your deck, and there are no destruction cards in your deck. You're going to be utilizing each and every card every time you play, and that even includes your starter cards. And lastly, the game is a lot like a puzzle and you're just matching symbols on cards, but somehow it works, and it works really well. Now, I don't have a solo playthrough of either one of these yet. I need to change that, but yeah, no solo playthroughs yet. I will say this game is not for you if you like games that ease you in at the beginning. That's not how it happens. You're going to start off with an obstacle or an enemy facing you. It's going to be hitting you for 2 damage and you only have 5 health. So it's going to start and end hard. Also, theme is going to be something you need to consider. I personally like the fantasy theme better, but overall I actually like Crossfire better. So make sure to check out the themes and then also watch some playthroughs to see which one you like better. Both games are what I consider to be a grindy game, but Shadowrun is definitely more grindy than Dragonfire. And what that means is your level ups take a while to happen, you have to get a lot of experience to get there, so you're going to be playing over and over and over again to get there. But that also helps you learn how to play the game and helps you understand how to play this different type of deck builder. Apex Thoropod deck building game is a 1 to 6 player competitive deck building game where players compete to become the apex predator by obtaining the most victory points. In a solo game, you must defeat the boss that is within the hunt deck. You'll hatch cards from your hatchery and use evolve points to place them into your deck. As you play, there will be environmental challenges as well as other predators lurking within the hunt deck that could attack your species. If you're able to defeat the boss, you have won the game. You then can count up your score to compare how well you did between plays. One of the biggest draws for me in this game is the theme itself. As a kid, I was a dinosaur fanatic, so being able to play as a Spinosaurus race or the T-Rex race and build up my deck to defeat a boss dino is absolutely fantastic. And yes, you can play with one deck, which is wonderful. So you're only playing one hand, you're going to be quickly building your deck up while all those enemies attack you. I also really like how instead of having a market deck that you will be choosing cards from, you have a hatch deck where you're literally hatching cards that you can purchase for your deck. And all of those cards are specific to your class of dinosaur. So if I play the Velociraptor deck, all cards that I can add to my deck through the hatchery will be different types of Velociraptors. I honestly wish more games would do this type of deck building, as it means your deck is not a conglomeration of random cards, but a thematic deck with cool interconnecting abilities. I do also love having a boss fight in solo games, and this one does not disappoint. How it works is you seed this boss into the deck of hunt cards, and it comes out randomly at first. If you're unprepared, you can run away, but when you're ready to take them on, and you have to have these series of rounds where you try and fight them and win. And so you have to have multiple hands where you can do enough damage to that boss so you can win the game. I'll also say that this is some of the best dinosaur art I have seen, so that it just looks wonderful at the table. I do have a solo playthrough of this one on the channel. If you're interested, check it out. I will say this game is not for you if you're not up for spending a bunch of money. The game is out of print, so it may be hard to find. Also, the environment cards can be super tough, and there's nothing you can do about it. That can get a little bit frustrating. And then finally, the theme is strong and could be a deterrent if you're not into dinosaurs at all. You might just go, well, whatever, because that is all the game is about, is dinosaurs.
Gloom of Kilforth, designed by Tristan Hall, published by Hall or Nothing Productions, is a 1 to 4 player cooperative or competitive game where players can work against the clock to complete their own personal sagas and take on the ancient before the entire world falls to gloom. For a solo game, you can choose 1 to 4 characters to play, but the game does not suffer at all for playing only one character. You'll move between locations, meeting strangers, finding perils, etc., and collecting trophies and money along the way. As you continue to build your own powers to defeat the Ancient One, the evil does not just sit and wait. The Ancient One will place plot cards all over the board that will assist the Ancient in the final battle, should you choose not to take care of them. The game has an open feel about it, as you can use your actions for whatever you would like, but the countdown waits for no one. So why do I like this game? First, the art. Oh, there's nothing more that I can say about this other than it's phenomenal. You could be living under a rock and still enjoy how this game looks on your table or rock. The mechanics. There's a bunch of really unique mechanics in this game that I enjoy. So you have your enemies and you defeat them and they can turn into rumors. And then when you use them for rumors, you can use them to help you put down different assets based on keywords. And your personal saga, you're going to try and get cards with specific keywords on them so that you can complete your saga. I really like these small mechanics that I haven't seen in a lot of other games. It turns the game into just, instead of just exploring randomly, you find these specific cards that you need and you can build up your character through them, and it creates a story specific to the saga, and I really appreciate that. Replayability. Well, the whole board itself is a set of 25 cards, and they can get all moved around and changed, so it's modular. You can play with a different race and a different class card every time, and they all have different varying abilities, and then that's going to set up how you're going to level up your character. Also, the sagas themselves. I think there's 4 or 5 different sagas. Oh, so cool. Just tons of replayability. Now, why is the game good solo? Well, the biggest thing for me is you can play this game with one character and you don't feel like you lose anything because of it. So many times I'll play an adventure game, like a couple of the ones that are even farther up on this list, but I feel like I need to play with at least 2 to get some of those cool abilities. You don't need that here. You can play with just 1 and have just the same type of wonderful experience, and I really appreciate that. Way to go, Tristan. This game for me is a true adventure game. So there's many games, like Legends of Andor, where they mention that they're adventure games, but in order for you to win, you're almost forced to do certain things. This game, nothing is forced. You can decide how you want to make your story or how you complete your saga. I really appreciate that in an adventure game. I don't want to be told that I have to do this in my adventure game. I want to find my own path on how to succeed. Now, this game's not for you if you're not into skill checks, as that's what you're going to be doing a lot for a lot of the resolution in this game. If the gothic theme is not your thing, it is quite prevalent and it might be a turnoff, so just be wary of that. And lastly, it is a long game, so be ready to invest some time. And if you're looking for a short, quick one, this one's not going to be for you. This is a long adventure game, but it's a good long adventure game.
Renegade, designed by Richard Wilkins, aka Ricky Royal, and published by Victory Points Games, is a 1 to 5 player cooperative abstract Euro-thematic deck building game. In a solo game, you'll choose 1 of 5 hackers and will jack yourself into the supermassive computer or SMC server with a profile bringing its own special ability. You'll move across the partitions and fight to take control of the network by using informational, destructive, deceptive, and cognitive attacks. You will upgrade your commands by visiting the Hack Shack. You'll have 3 countermeasures you'll try to stop while also dealing with 1 of 5 of the SMC's special abilities. If you're able to prevent all the sparks or all the guardians from overflowing the network, you will win the game. So why is this game good solo? Well, I'll just say this. It was made by the king of solo playthroughs himself, Ricky Royal, and you can tell this has the best of a lot of mechanics like deck building, hand management, player powers, random objectives, and even scoring at the end if you win, and the cool cyberpunk theme. So Ricky took a lot of the experiences that he's had playing through all these different games and put the best of all of it into one game. A lot of the game you'll be sitting and thinking about what to do, which is great for a solo game because you can take your time. Think of Mage Knight in a more accessible time frame, and it has a more unique theme. Also, the puzzle itself in this game is wonderful, and the best part is there are so many different ways that you can go and win the game. There's no pre-described way to win. The game gives you this huge sandbox of a network, and you either learn to build the castle before the day is through, or you just end up with a bunch of sand in your fingernails. I'm terrible at analogies, but I think you get my point. The replayability of this game is off the charts if you include the additional content that was unlocked due to the Kickstarter. I'm hoping Ricky is already working diligently on an expansion as well, as it would be so easy to expand this universe and the game. I do always love a game that has an artificial intelligence, but the best part about this game is you hardly spend any time activating it. Most of the game you'll be doing your own turn, and for about 5 minutes for the entire game, you'll be activating the AI. I love this, as it means the time spent on the game is not on moving pieces all over the board you don't control. Instead, it's all about the choices that you want to make. And finally, I really appreciate the subtlety of this game. I honestly can't speak too much to this as I'm still learning all of that subtlety, but you have to remember this. When playing the game, you feel like your objective is clear, and the SMC's objectives are clear. But the challenge is to figure out how to disrupt the SMCs enough that you can lay the groundwork for your own plan. The problem is there's just so much to think about. Even the setup of the game, there's a strategy. The game may be simple to set up, but it's anything but simple to play. I do have a playthrough on the channel for this. Just note that it is with prototype components. Check it out. I will say this game is not for you if you're not into a more abstract theme. I think of all the games on this list, this one is the most abstract, so make sure to watch a playthrough to see if you like that abstractness. Also, AP can be a problem here because there's so many options and the game's not going to tell you what to do. So you're going to sit there and go, I don't even know where to start. Be ready for that, and if you're not into that, you might just want to look somewhere else. Aeon's End, designed by Kevin Riley and published by Action Phase Games, is a 1 to 4 player cooperative deck building game where players assume roles as different types of mages seeking to protect the last bastion of the world that was, Gravehold. In a solo game, you'll choose 2 to 4 mages to go up against the Nemesis and its minions. The game has a variable turn order system, so you never quite know when the Nemesis or minions will strike. You'll need to use your Ether to purchase stronger spells, relics, and gems, as well as power up your special ability and open breaches so that you can cast your spells at the Nemesis. If you're able to reduce the Nemesis health to 0 or have the Nemesis deck run out, you win the game. But if Gravehold's health goes to 0 or all the players have their health reduced to 0, you lose the game. So why is this game good solo? Well, first of all, it is a strategic deck builder. I feel like the best tactical deck builder is Shadowrun, but this one is the best strategic deck builder. This is due to the no shuffling mechanic, and you can build in combos into your deck and purchase cards at the right time to be the most effective in your card play. Not many deck builders can let you do that. Unlike most co-op or solo deck builders, this game thrives on the fact that you can actually destroy and make optimal decks. Gone are the requirements of having 10 bad cards in your deck the entire game. Now with that, some Nemesis makes you keep those cards or makes you shuffle your deck. So the designer played with this and it paid off handsomely. It works so well, I love it. Between the limited cards that you can purchase, either 5 or 7 in total for each pile, the 3 different options for your Ether, doing charges, purchasing cards, or opening breaches, the no shuffling, and the random turn order deck makes this game stand out as a unique deck builder. Also, each Nemesis acts so differently. You must bring the appropriate strategy, otherwise you'll be killed faster than a deer in an open field during hunting season in Minnesota. I will say the War Eternal expansion took the game to the next level with quality art and components. It also provided the much needed additional basic Nemesis cards to provide a little bit more replayability into the game. I will say this game is not for you if you're not into having a game ramp up quickly. It's not like Legendary or Shadowrift where it slowly ramps up. This game starts as a challenge from the get-go. Also, the theme can be a little bit off-putting here. Are you fighting in a post-apocalyptic world? Are you fighting in fantasy? What are you in? So yeah, if that's going to be an issue for you, the theme, yeah, this isn't for you. Lord of the Rings: The Card Game, designed by Nate French and published by Fantasy Flight Games, is a cooperative adventure game in which 1 to 4 players attempt to complete a scenario by adventuring through all the specific locations of the quests. As a solo gamer, you can play one or two-handed, but in general I'll say I prefer running 2 decks as I enjoy watching the synergies of the decks. You will pick your 3 heroes and then construct a deck of cards that will hopefully synergize well as you take on different scenarios. You'll be exploring through a location deck, and there will also be enemies to fight, side quests to complete, and treacheries you must overcome. Do you have what it takes to save Middle-earth from Sauron? This game is good solo because, first of all, you can play this with just 1 deck. I prefer to play with 2, but you definitely can play with 1, and that's really nice that they give you that option. Second, the theme. If you're at all into the theme like I am, it's definitely worth a look to at least watch a playthrough, at least see if you think that this might be something that you enjoy. One of my personal favorite parts of this game is the deck construction. I love building my deck, finding those synergies, testing them out, playing them with others or by myself. If you like building decks in competitive games such as Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic, something like that, you're gonna love this part of the game, building those decks and then trying to build them in a way that you can defeat quests. And that's my next thing, the quests. There are so many quests out now. You have a full campaign that follows the story of the Lord of the Rings. You also have all these deluxe packs that will have 2 or 3 quests in them, and then 7 adventure packs that you can purchase that will continue the storyline. And finally, I'll just say the depth of this game is why I put this as my number 1. After playing this now 30 times, I feel like all I have done is just barely scratched the surface on all the different combinations and synergies out there. Not many games can give you that after that many repeated plays. This game, though, definitely is not for everyone. If you're not into deck building, you can still play it, but that is a big portion of the game. So if you're not going to deck build, make sure to really see if you think the playing of the game is worth it for this one. Sometimes, and I really should say a lot of times, you're going to lose due to tough card draws or shadow cards, and it almost feels unfair. You need to be okay with losing at least 50% of the time. That's how you're going to feel in this game. If you're not okay with that, then this might not be the game for you. And finally, this is another living card game. However, the bad part about this one is that portions of it are out of print. They'll come back into print, but you don't know when, you don't know how long, so it is going to be hard to go all the way back and try and collect everything, and it can get expensive. I will say though, they have a new expansion coming out, so we know for sure another year of content is planned, which I am excited about. So there you have it. That is my top 10. If you've been watching my channel recently, you probably could have guessed my number 1. And number 2, I mean, who doesn't like Ricky Royal? And having one of his games, oh, I just love Renegade. Can't wait to keep playing it. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comments below what your top 10 solo card games are. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your day. I'll see you at the next stop.